Hey guys, it's Carbon Horse Race. So this one used Thorograph to handicap 2024 Florida Derby, and I pulled up the Florida Derby for Thorograph. We're going to take a look at it contender by contender and see what Thorograph says about picking the winner. And first, we're going to look at Frankie's Empire, and you can see where he started as a 2-year-old. Got 15, 18, 15, 13, 15, 7, and then came back as 3-year-old, got 6 and 6. And for those not familiar with Thorograph, the lower the number, the better the performance. So when you see that 7 as a 2-year-old and he comes back and runs a 6, that looks like a horse that's improving, taking steps forward. And certainly, he paired up that speed figure the second time around. So I think there's a chance he could take a step forward, according to Thorograph. But also, I think there's a negative of the distance getting further. Now, I got the feeling this horse is more of a sprinter than a router. So I would say, there might be a chance of regression there, but based on the Thorograph pattern, I think he could. There's a chance there to take a step forward. And they're gonna get the number 2 Hades, and Hades by Joseph Orsino ran a 13 as a 2-year-old first race, came out ran a 7 in the second race, and then in the Holy Bull he ran a 6, and that was the race where he got to set things, a real slow pace, go his own way. He did come back as a 3-year-old to, top what he ran as a 2-year-old, which is always a good sign for a developing horse. And, so there should be a chance there, he could take a slight step forward. Uh, but also, you got to wonder how much this figure was, set up by the slow pace. And, that's a question we're going to find out in a few days. But, certainly makes him a contender based on Thorograph, by running a, 6 right here. And if he can take a step forward and, off that, then certainly a contender. And then, the number 3 Bellis out. This is the other Todd Pletcher horse. And, he ran at 11 as a 2-year-old and then, paired it up with an 11 as a, his first start as a 3-year-old. And I think for this horse to be a contender, he's really going to have to take a massive step forward. I can see it taking a 1 or a 2 to win this race. And, you're going to have to find a horse on Thorograph that could potentially get there. And, you're talking about almost a 10-point leap on Thorograph. And I'm willing to bet, he's not able to do that. So for me, Bellis out kind of, just looks like a toss for me personally. And then you got Grand Mo the first, by Victor Barbosa Jr. ran a 14, 10, 10. It was a vet scratch there at Santa Anita. Uh, and then came back, paired up that buyer first start as a 3-year-old, got a 10. And then, came back in the Tampa Derby, got a 6, took a step forward. And to win this race, kind of take another step forward. But even if he takes just a couple points step forward, it can run like a 3 or a 4. Certainly going to be a horse that can be in your trifecta, superfecta. So I do like that for Victor Barbosa Jr. Definitely looks like a solid horse to be in there. Real Macho by Rohan Christian. Ran a 17, second start got a 12. Came back first start 3-year-old, got a 13, and made that big jump to a 5. And sometimes we'll see a horse make that big move on a speed figure like that, and then there'll be a bounce as that that race will take something out of him. It takes time to circle back into that form, and it got an 11 there, and let's say he even comes back and pairs this as a 5. I don't think the 5 is gonna do it. It's gonna have to take a step forward off that. And if you look at the throw pattern for previous start 3-year-olds from February to April, pair top and then off form, there's only a 10% chance that he's going to be able to do that based on past history. So for me, kind of like a horse you could automatically toss, based on Thorograph. And the next horse was Ladon Bro. And I was actually a little surprised when I seen this horse's Thorograph. I figured it'd be just a touch better than what it was. Ran a 17, 15, 15. I think right here is when he got moved from the Sono barn. And, Enio Cordero, like, I didn't realize until this past week, he's only like a 20-year-old trainer. That's really young. And I was just shocked to see that. You don't see that in this sport. But, in Aqueduct, he got a 23, his first start as a 3-year-old, made a, big move all the way up to 12. And then, he paired it up in his next race with a 9. And I'm not sure how much of a forward move there is left. I don't think he's going to be able to, that was a massive jump right there. Then he made another one. To say he's got another big move like that, I think it's going to take some time to, get there. But, if he can improve to a 5 or 6, I just don't think, I think the jump taken to win this race is going to be a little too steep. But I actually thought his 9 was going to be more like a 6 or a 7. So I was a little shocked to see it be that low. But one, I think after seeing this, I might wipe off the contender list. One, I wasn't really that high on the win spot, anyways. Next horse is Catalytic, and this horse making that jump from 6 furlong all the way to a mile and an eighth. Started out as a 9 and then was a vet scratch in December. Came back in March, got a 10, and he could take a step forward off that to go from a sprint to a mile and an eighth and be able to make a 8 or 9 point jump. It seems a little steep. Not to say it hasn't happened before, but for all money, I'm willing to bet that there's a better chance he doesn't do that than one that he does. So for Catalytic, I'm gonna wind up taking him off my list personally. And then the next horse is Seminole Chief, and it's by Jack Sisterton, and got a 12, 13, 11. Came as a 3-year-old. First start got a 30, but was eased off, didn't run at all, and then came back at Gulfstream, got a 10. He's got to take a step forward to win this race, and I'm not quite sure if he has that forward movement. Let's say if he does half that and bumps up to a 5 or a 6, it's still not going to be what it's going to take to win this race. So for me, this horse is going to be a toss. And then we're going to get to Conquest Warrior. And, this horse, he's been a little light when it comes to the buyer speed figures and all that. But I think Thorograph is, they seem to be a little bit higher on this horse. He got a 5 for his maiden race at Aqueduct, and got third. That was on a muddy track. And then came back as a 3-year-old, got a 6, that basically, right in the ballpark of the same speed figure. But that was the race. There was all kind of traffic trouble in that race. Like, even though he ran lower, that was still, to me, that was a very impressive race. And then, came back in the allowance race, got a 5. Certainly a horse, I think, that is setting on a new top in this race, and one I could see making that jump to a 1 or 2. It seems, reasonable, like only, make a 3 or 4 point jump. So I could certainly see this horse being there. I think Thorograph, kind of shows be a little higher on this horse, some of the other, speed figures. And then, this one is for fiercest and what everybody probably really wants to see. Started out, ran a 3, and sometimes you see a horse come out, you run this low number, and then there's always a bounce off of it. And I really don't know why. I guess maybe they, need to recover from the effort or something. Not real sure. I'd much rather see a horse like progress than to run a high number first race. But, ran a 3, then came all the way back, got to 12 at, Aqueduct and the Champagne, and then, redeemed himself in the Breeders' Cup, got a 1, and then, came back at Gulfstream, and his Thorograph number is a 4, and actually faster than, Hades, who ran a 5. So, Thorograph took in this effort to be a little bit better than, Hades' effort. And, looking back, you could certainly see this horse, making that jump, right back to this Breeders' Cup level. And, I would say it's more likely he does that than, regresses. And, if he can do that, then probably another horse I see that probably has the most realistic chance would be, Conquest Warrior, and, by the Thorograph, maybe like a Frankie's Empire, if he could take that step forward. But I'm not sure Frankie's Empire can, get the distance for that. So for me, I think Thorograph kind of sets up, if you're a fan of Fierceness or a fan of Conquest Warrior, Thorograph certainly, is going to back you up for that. And, if you're a fan of some of these other ones, like maybe a long shot like Seminole Chief, like a Catalytic or somebody like that, Ladon Bro, I think, you're probably not too excited about what you see on Thorograph. But, this is what Thorograph says about the Florida Derby, guys. And thanks for watching.